One of the most important things we carry with us every single day is our confidence. It's that deep inner belief that says, I am enough, but how often do we let that voice fade? How often do we allow the world, or worse, ourselves, to chip away at that belief? Today, I want to talk about 8 mistakes that may be slowly, silently killing your confidence, and it's time to stop letting them. Comparing yourself to others is one of the most subtle yet destructive habits that can erode your confidence over time. It's something we all do at some point in our lives, but when it becomes a regular practice, it can steal your sense of self-worth and satisfaction. We live in a world where social media has made it incredibly easy to look at someone else's life and feel like you're falling short. With a single scroll, you see glimpses of perfect vacations, ideal relationships, dream careers, and flawless bodies. It's so easy to get trapped in the mindset of thinking, why don't I have that? What am I doing wrong? But here's the truth: comparing yourself to others is not only unfair to you, it's also a false narrative that will lead you down a path of dissatisfaction and low self-esteem. When you compare yourself to others, you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. What you see on social media or in public settings is only a small, curated portion of someone's life. You're not seeing their struggles, their insecurities, or the challenges they face behind closed doors. You're seeing what they want to show you. It's important to recognize that everyone has their own journey. Just because someone is ahead in one area of life doesn't mean they are ahead in every aspect, nor does it mean that you're behind. In fact, your path is meant to be different. We each have our own unique timelines, and success looks different for everyone. The problem with comparison is that it focuses on lack. When you compare yourself to someone else, you zero in on what you think you're missing instead of what you have. You start to focus on the gaps in your life, your perceived shortcomings, and the things you believe are holding you back. This shift in focus can cause a significant dip in your confidence because you begin to see yourself as less than. It's not just about envying another person's life, it's about eroding your own self-worth by constantly measuring yourself against a standard that was never meant for you. This leads to another important point: the person you're comparing yourself to may not even be as happy or fulfilled as you think they are. The outward signs of success, money, beauty, fame, or accomplishments don't necessarily equate to internal peace or satisfaction. It's entirely possible that the person you envy for their material success is struggling with their own inner demons, battling insecurities, or wishing they had something you take for granted. Life is complex, and nobody has it all. The grass may look greener on the other side, but often that's just because it's a well-edited snapshot of reality. Another issue with comparison is that it keeps you distracted from your own journey. When you're constantly looking at someone else's life, you lose sight of your own goals, progress, and accomplishments. Instead of focusing on what you can do to improve your situation, you spend time and energy wishing you were living someone else's life. This is a distraction that hinders your growth and keeps you from appreciating your unique path. When you're busy looking at someone else's success, you miss the opportunities right in front of you. You forget to celebrate the small victories in your own life because you're too focused on what you don't have compared to someone else. Over time, this can create a cycle of self-sabotage. As you continue to compare yourself to others, you may begin to feel less motivated. You might think, what's the point of trying if I'll never be as successful as them? This mindset is incredibly dangerous because it leads to inaction. Instead of taking steps toward your goals, you stay stuck in a cycle of envy and self-pity. You become so caught up in what others are doing that you forget you have the power to create your own success. Confidence is built through action, through taking steps toward your goals, no matter how small those steps might be. But when you're constantly comparing, you lose the motivation to take those steps because you feel like you'll never measure up. Another subtle but powerful way comparison kills confidence is by making you feel isolated. When you believe that everyone else is doing better than you, it creates a sense of loneliness. You start to feel like you're the only one struggling, which couldn't be further from the truth. Everyone has their own battles, even the people who seem to have it all. But comparison blinds you to that fact. It tricks you into thinking that you're the only one falling behind, and that isolation can deepen feelings of inadequacy. The more isolated you feel, the harder it becomes to reach out for support, which only compounds the issue. Furthermore, comparison can lead to resentment, not just toward others, but toward yourself. You might start to resent the fact that you're not where you want to be, or that your life doesn't look the way you imagined it would. This resentment can breed frustration, self-doubt, and even anger. Instead of feeling empowered to make changes, you become bitter about the cards you've been dealt. This negativity doesn't just harm your confidence, it also affects your relationships, your work, and your overall well-being. Comparison is also a distraction from gratitude. When you're constantly looking at what others have, you forget to appreciate what you have. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for building confidence. When you focus on what's going well in your life, when you take the time to acknowledge your own blessings, it shifts your mindset from lack to abundance. You start to realize that you have everything you need to succeed and be happy right here, right now. But comparison robs you of that gratitude. It shifts your focus to what you don't have, making it impossible to appreciate what you do. It's also important to recognize that we often compare ourselves to people who are in a completely different stage of life. You might be at the beginning of your journey while someone else is in the middle of theirs. Comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10 is not only unfair, it's unrealistic. Growth takes time, and just because you're not where someone else is doesn't mean you won't get there eventually. Your timeline is unique, and rushing your progress to match someone else's will only leave you feeling defeated. Instead of comparing yourself to others, focus on comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. Are you making progress? Are you learning, growing, and becoming a better version of yourself? That's the only comparison that matters. When you let go of comparison, you free yourself to focus on what really matters: your own journey, your own growth, and your own happiness. Negative self-talk is one of the most destructive forces that can affect your confidence, yet it's something that many people struggle with on a daily basis. The conversations you have with yourself shape how you see the world, and more importantly, how you see yourself. Every day there's a constant dialogue running through your mind, and when that dialogue is filled with negativity, it can chip away at your self-esteem piece by piece. You might not even realize it's happening, but those little thoughts of doubt, fear, or self-criticism have a powerful impact on your overall confidence and sense of self-worth. It starts with small, seemingly harmless thoughts. Maybe you make a mistake at work, and instead of recognizing that mistakes are a part of learning, you tell yourself, "I'm so stupid," or "I can never do anything right." Over time, these thoughts become more frequent and more ingrained in your mind. They start to feel like the truth. It becomes second nature to criticize yourself for every small misstep or perceived shortcoming. And that constant barrage of negativity turns into a belief system. You start to believe that you really aren't good enough, that you're not capable, and that no matter what you do, you'll never be able to succeed. This kind of thinking is incredibly harmful, not just to your confidence, but to every area of your life. The problem with negative self-talk is that it operates on a loop. The more you engage in it, the stronger it becomes. It creates a feedback cycle where one negative thought leads to another, and soon it feels impossible to break free. You may not even realize that you're engaging in negative self-talk because it has become such an automatic response to any challenge or difficulty you face. But every time you say to yourself, "I can't do this," or "I'm not good enough," you are reinforcing a belief that is simply not true. These thoughts are not facts, they are interpretations, often distorted, of reality. And the more you allow these interpretations to shape your worldview, the more they diminish your confidence. It's important to recognize that negative self-talk is not just about the big, dramatic statements we make to ourselves. It can also be subtle, creeping in through small, seemingly insignificant moments. For example, you might be preparing for a meeting and think, "I hope I don't mess this up," or "They're going to think I'm not prepared." These thoughts might seem minor, but they set the tone for how you approach the situation. Instead of going in with confidence, you enter the meeting already doubting yourself, which affects how you perform and how others perceive you. The energy you bring into a room is influenced by the thoughts you carry with you, and if those thoughts are negative, it shows. Negative self-talk often stems from deeper insecurities or fears. Perhaps you've experienced failures in the past, and now you're afraid of repeating them. Or maybe you've been criticized by others, and over time, you've internalized those criticisms as truths. Whatever the root cause, these thoughts don't come from nowhere. They are often the result of past experiences or societal pressures that have conditioned you to believe that you're not enough. The challenge is that once these thoughts take root, they can be incredibly difficult to unlearn. They become part of your inner narrative, shaping how you see yourself and how you interact with the world. One of the most damaging aspects of negative self-talk is that it keeps you stuck in a fixed mindset. When you constantly tell yourself that you're not good enough or that you can't do something, you're essentially closing yourself off to growth and improvement. You start to believe that your abilities are static, that no matter how hard you try, you'll never get better. This kind of thinking can lead to a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe that you can't improve, you won't put in the effort to try, and as a result, you'll remain stuck in the same patterns of behavior. This only reinforces the negative beliefs you already have about yourself. On the other hand, replacing negative self-talk with empowering affirmations can have the opposite effect. When you choose to speak positively to yourself, you begin to shift your mindset from one of limitation to one of possibility. Positive self-talk doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending that challenges don't exist. It means choosing to focus on what you can do, what you're capable of, and the strengths you bring to any given situation. Instead of telling yourself, I can't do this, you might say, this is difficult, but I'm capable of figuring it out. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough, you might affirm, I'm learning and growing every day. Empowering affirmations aren't about sugarcoating the truth or denying the existence of challenges. They are about reframing the way you talk to yourself so that you're not constantly tearing yourself down. When you shift your self-talk from negative to positive, you start to build a foundation of confidence that allows you to take risks, face challenges head-on, and pursue your goals with a sense of belief in your own abilities. Over time, this positive reinforcement creates a new narrative, one that is rooted in possibility and growth, rather than fear and limitation. It's important to recognize that changing your self-talk is not something that happens overnight. If you've been engaging in negative self-talk for years, it's going to take time to rewire your brain and create new patterns of thinking. But the good news is that it's possible. Your brain is incredibly adaptable. And with consistent effort, you can begin to replace those negative thoughts with more empowering ones. The first step is awareness. Start paying attention to the thoughts that run through your mind on a daily basis. When you catch yourself engaging in negative self-talk, pause and question it. Ask yourself, is this really true? Is there evidence to support this thought, or is it just a distorted belief? Once you become aware of your negative self-talk, you can begin to actively challenge it. For example, if you find yourself thinking, I'm never going to be successful, ask yourself, why do I believe that? What evidence do I have to support that thought? Often, when you take the time to examine your negative thoughts, you'll realize that they're based on fear, insecurity, or past experiences that no longer serve you. By questioning these thoughts, you can begin to break the cycle of negativity and replace it with a more positive, empowering narrative. Another powerful tool for shifting negative self-talk is practicing self-compassion. Too often, we are our own worst critics. We hold ourselves to impossible standards and then beat ourselves up when we inevitably fall short. But self-compassion is about recognizing that you are human, that mistakes are a part of life, and that you deserve kindness and understanding just like anyone else. When you practice self-compassion, you create space for growth and learning. Instead of criticizing yourself for making a mistake, you can say, it's okay. I'm doing my best, and I'll learn from this experience. This shift in mindset allows you to move forward with confidence rather than being weighed down by guilt or shame. It's also important to surround yourself with positive influences. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, and the environments you place yourself in all have an impact on your self-talk. If you're constantly surrounded by negativity, it's going to be much harder to maintain a positive mindset. Seek out people who lift you up, who believe in your potential, and who encourage you to be your best self. Surround yourself with content that inspires you and challenges you to grow. The more positive influences you have in your life, the easier it will be to maintain empowering self-talk. Seeking approval from others is a deeply ingrained behavior that many of us have learned over time. From a young age, we are conditioned to seek validation from external sources. As children, we rely on our parents, teachers, and peers to tell us if we are doing well, if we are likable, if we are good enough. This habit follows us into adulthood, and for many people, it becomes a lifelong pursuit. We crave the approval of others because it gives us a sense of worth, a feeling that we are on the right track or that we are accepted. But when you rely on the approval of others for your sense of validation, you give away your power. You hand over control of your confidence and self-worth to external forces that you cannot control. The problem with this is that you end up chasing approval in an endless cycle, never fully satisfied, because external validation is fleeting and unpredictable. When you live your life seeking approval from others, you constantly adjust your behavior, your decisions, and even your values based on what you think will make others happy. You might say yes to things you don't want to do simply because you don't want to disappoint someone. You might hold back from expressing your true opinions or desires out of fear that someone might disagree or disapprove. Over time, this behavior erodes your sense of self. You become disconnected from your own needs, desires, and values because you're so focused on pleasing others. In doing so, you lose touch with who you really are and what you truly want. The pursuit of approval often stems from a fear of rejection. As social beings, we are wired to want to belong, to be part of a community, to be accepted. This need for belonging can be so strong that we sacrifice our own authenticity in order to fit in. But the truth is, when you seek approval from others, you are never truly being yourself. You are presenting a version of yourself that you believe others will like, a version that is shaped by what you think will garner the most positive feedback. This might work in the short term, but over time, it creates a disconnect between who you really are and the image you project to the world. The more you suppress your true self, the more your confidence suffers, because deep down you know that the version of yourself that others are approving of isn't the real you. Another issue with seeking approval is that it makes you vulnerable to the opinions and judgments of others. When your sense of worth is tied to what others think of you, you give them the power to dictate how you feel about yourself. If someone compliments you, you feel good. If someone criticizes you, your confidence takes a hit. This puts you on an emotional roller coaster, constantly at the mercy of other people's opinions. The problem is, people are unpredictable. You can't control how others see you or what they think of you, and their opinions can change at any moment. When you base your confidence on something as unstable as external approval, you'll always be left feeling uncertain and insecure. Furthermore, people's opinions are often influenced by their own insecurities, biases, and limitations. When someone disapproves of you or criticizes you, it might have more to do with their own issues than with anything you've done. But when you're constantly seeking approval, you internalize these judgments as if they are a reflection of your worth. You start to believe that if someone doesn't like you, it means you're not likable. If someone disapproves of your choices, it means you've made the wrong decision. This mindset can lead to a lot of unnecessary self-doubt and second-guessing. Instead of trusting your own instincts and making decisions based on what's right for you, you start to make choices based on what you think will win the approval of others. This need for approval can also hold you back from taking risks and pursuing your goals. When you're constantly seeking validation, you become afraid of stepping outside of the norm or doing anything that might lead to criticism or rejection. You might avoid taking on new challenges or pursuing your passions because you're worried about what others will think. This fear of disapproval keeps you stuck in your comfort zone, afraid to push beyond your limits or try something new. But growth and success often come from taking risks, from stepping into the unknown, from doing things that not everyone will understand or approve of. When you live your life seeking approval, you limit your potential because you're too focused on staying within the boundaries of what's socially acceptable or admired by others. Another consequence of seeking approval is that it can lead to people-pleasing behavior. When you're constantly trying to make others happy, you end up neglecting your own needs and desires. You say yes when you want to say no. You agree to things that don't align with your values or interests just to avoid conflict or disapproval. Over time, this behavior can lead to resentment toward others for constantly asking more of you, and resentment toward yourself for not standing up for your own needs. People-pleasing might win you approval in the short term, but it comes at the cost of your own well-being and happiness. When you constantly prioritize others' needs over your own, you end up feeling drained, unfulfilled, and disconnected from yourself. One of the most important lessons to learn in life is that no matter what you do, not everyone is going to like you or approve of you. Trying to please everyone is a losing battle because people have different values, preferences, and perspectives. What one person admires, another person might criticize. This is a reality that you cannot change, no matter how hard you try. The more you try to mold yourself to fit others' expectations, the more you dilute your own authenticity. And the irony is, the more you seek approval, the less genuine you become, and people can often sense that. True confidence comes from being authentic, from being unapologetically yourself, even when it means risking disapproval or criticism. When you stop seeking approval from others, you take back control of your own confidence. You start to live your life based on your own values, desires, and goals, rather than what you think will make others happy. This doesn't mean you stop caring about other people or their opinions entirely. It means that you stop letting those opinions dictate how you feel about yourself or the decisions you make. It means that you trust yourself enough to know what's right for you, regardless of whether or not others approve. This shift in mindset allows you to build a foundation of self-confidence that is unshakable because it comes from within, not from external sources that are beyond your control. When you rely on your own internal validation, you become more resilient to criticism and rejection. You start to see these things not as reflections of your worth, but as part of life's natural challenges. You learn to value your own opinion of yourself more than the opinions of others, and this creates a sense of empowerment that is incredibly liberating. Instead of seeking approval, you seek growth, learning, and self-improvement. You become less concerned with how others perceive you and more focused on becoming the best version of yourself for yourself. This is where true confidence is born, not from external validation, but from a deep internal sense of self-worth that is independent of what others think. Embracing failure as a stepping stone to growth is a mindset that can profoundly shift the way you approach challenges in life. Many people fear failure because they see it as a reflection of their abilities, intelligence, or potential. From a young age, we are taught that success is good and failure is bad, and this binary view of achievement can prevent us from seeing the true value in failure. When you see failure as something to avoid at all costs, it creates a mindset of fear and limitation. But the reality is that failure is not the opposite of success. It's a necessary part of the journey towards success. The most successful people in the world have all experienced failure, often multiple times, and what sets them apart is their ability to learn from it, grow, and keep moving forward. Failure is one of life's greatest teachers. When you fail, you're presented with an opportunity to learn something valuable, whether it's about your own strengths and weaknesses, the strategies you're using, or the environment you're operating in. Each failure offers insight that you wouldn't have gained if you had succeeded right away. This is why failure is so essential to growth. It provides you with feedback, showing you what works and what doesn't. And it forces you to reflect on your actions, decisions, and mindset, and it gives you the chance to make adjustments. In this sense, failure is not a setback, but a catalyst for improvement. One of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to failure is equating it with personal worth. When you fail at something, it's easy to internalize that failure and believe that it means you are a failure. But failure is not a reflection of who you are as a person. It's simply an outcome of a particular situation or effort. Everyone fails, no matter how talented or intelligent they are. The key is not to let failure define you, but to use it as a tool for growth. When you can separate your self-worth from the outcome of your efforts, you give yourself the freedom to fail without fear of it diminishing your sense of value. Failure often teaches you resilience. When things don't go as planned, it's easy to feel defeated and want to give up. But each time you fail and choose to try again, you're building mental and emotional strength. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity, and it's a critical component of long-term success. The more you face challenges and setbacks, the more resilient you become. You start to realize that failure is not something to be feared, but something you can handle and overcome. This resilience allows you to take bigger risks, pursue your goals with more determination, and persevere in the face of obstacles, knowing that failure is not the end, but a part of the process. Another important aspect of embracing failure is learning to take responsibility for it. It's easy to blame external factors when things go wrong, whether it's the economy, other people, or circumstances beyond your control. But when you take ownership of your failures, you empower yourself to change and improve. Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself or wallowing in guilt. It means acknowledging the role you played in the outcome and looking for ways to grow from it. This accountability is key to personal and professional growth because it shifts your focus from what went wrong to what you can do differently next time. Failure also fosters creativity and innovation. When you succeed, it's often because you're following a formula or path that has worked before. But failure forces you to think outside the box, to come up with new solutions, and to innovate in ways you wouldn't have considered if everything had gone smoothly. Many of the world's greatest inventions and breakthroughs were born out of failure. When one approach didn't work, the people behind those successes had to go back to the drawing board and come up with something new. This process of trial and error is essential to creativity because it allows you to explore different possibilities, test new ideas, and ultimately find better solutions. In addition to fostering creativity, failure helps you develop a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that your abilities and intelligence can be developed over time through hard work, learning, and persistence. People with a fixed mindset, on the other hand, believe that their abilities are static and unchangeable, and they often shy away from challenges for fear of failure. Embracing failure as a stepping stone to growth is a hallmark of the growth mindset because it shifts your focus from proving yourself to improving yourself. Instead of seeing failure as a sign that you're not good enough, you see it as an opportunity to learn and get better. This mindset allows you to take on challenges with confidence, knowing that even if you fail, you'll come out of the experience stronger and more knowledgeable. Another valuable lesson that failure teaches is humility. Success can sometimes lead to arrogance or complacency, where you start to believe that you have all the answers or that you're invincible. But failure has a way of humbling you, reminding you that there is always more to learn and that you're not immune to setbacks. This humility is important because it keeps you open to feedback, willing to learn from others, and constantly striving for improvement. It also helps you stay grounded and connected to others because you realize that everyone experiences failure, and it's something that unites us all in our shared humanity. Failure also helps you build empathy and understanding. When you've experienced failure yourself, you're more likely to be compassionate toward others who are going through similar challenges. You understand the pain, frustration, and disappointment that comes with failure, and this makes you more supportive and encouraging to those around you. This empathy can strengthen your relationships, both personally and professionally, because people appreciate and trust those who understand their struggles. In this way, failure not only helps you grow as an individual, but it also fosters stronger connections with others. One of the biggest barriers to embracing failure is the fear of judgment from others. Many people avoid taking risks or trying new things because they're afraid of what others will think if they fail. But the truth is, most people are so focused on their own lives that they're not paying as much attention to your failures as you think. And even if they are, their opinions should not dictate your actions. It's important to remember that failure is a normal part of life and that anyone who has ever achieved anything significant has failed along the way. The people who judge you for failing are often the ones who are too afraid to take risks themselves, and their judgment is a reflection of their own insecurities, not of your abilities. In fact, people often respect and admire those who are willing to take risks, even if they fail. It shows courage, determination, and a commitment to growth. When you're willing to put yourself out there to try and fail, you're demonstrating that you're not afraid of setbacks and that you're focused on the long-term goal. This kind of mindset is inspiring to others because it shows that success isn't about being perfect or getting everything right the first time. It's about persistence, resilience, and the willingness to learn from your mistakes. Failure can also help you clarify your goals and priorities. Sometimes when you fail at something, it forces you to take a step back and reevaluate what's truly important to you. Maybe the path you were on wasn't the right one, or maybe the goal you were pursuing no longer aligns with your values. Failure gives you the opportunity to reassess your direction and make adjustments if needed. This clarity can be incredibly valuable because it helps you focus on what really matters and lets go of pursuits that no longer serve you. Another way failure contributes to growth is by helping you build patience and perseverance. Success rarely happens overnight, and the road to achieving your goals is often long and filled with obstacles. Failure teaches you that progress takes time and that setbacks are a natural part of the process. It helps you develop the patience to keep going, even when things aren't going as planned, and the perseverance to push through difficulties without giving up. This kind of resilience is essential for long-term success because it allows you to stay committed to your goals, even in the face of adversity. Finally, failure gives you a greater appreciation for success. When you've experienced setbacks and worked through challenges, the taste of success is that much sweeter. You understand the effort, determination, and learning that went into achieving your goal, and this makes the accomplishment all the more meaningful. One of the biggest mistakes people make is allowing their past to dictate their present and future. The past is a powerful force, and it can shape who we are, how we think, and how we navigate the world. But when you let your past control you, it can limit your potential, undermine your confidence, and keep you stuck in patterns that no longer serve you. We all have experiences in our past that didn't go the way we wanted, whether it's a failure, a heartbreak, a rejection, or a missed opportunity. These experiences can leave a mark on us, and if we're not careful, we can carry the weight of those experiences into the present, allowing them to influence our decisions, our mindset, and our belief in what we're capable of. When you let the past control you, you end up living in a state of fear. You fear making the same mistakes, getting hurt again, or experiencing the same disappointments. This fear can paralyze you, preventing you from taking risks, pursuing your goals, or stepping outside of your comfort zone. You might avoid new opportunities because you're afraid they'll turn out like the ones in the past. You might hold back from forming new relationships because you're scared of getting hurt again. This fear of repeating the past keeps you stuck in a cycle of avoidance where you're not fully living in the present because you're too focused on what went wrong before. The problem with this is that it closes you off from the possibilities of the future. You start to believe that the past is a blueprint for what will happen next, when in reality, each new moment is a chance to create something different. The past can also shape your self-perception in ways that limit your confidence. If you've experienced failure or rejection in the past, it's easy to start believing that these experiences define who you are. You might think I failed before, so I'm likely to fail again, or I wasn't good enough then, so I'm not good enough now. This kind of thinking creates a fixed mindset where you believe that your abilities, worth, and potential are static and unchangeable. But the truth is, you are not your past. Just because something didn't work out before doesn't mean it won't work out in the future. And just because you were hurt or disappointed before doesn't mean you're destined to experience the same thing again. When you let the past define you, you limit your ability to grow, to evolve, and to see yourself as capable of achieving new things. Another way the past can control you is through limiting beliefs that were formed based on past experiences. These are the subconscious beliefs that you've adopted over time, often as a result of negative or difficult experiences. For example, if you were told as a child that you weren't smart enough, or if you were criticized for your ideas, you might carry those beliefs into adulthood, believing that you're not capable of success or that your ideas aren't valuable. These limiting beliefs can influence your actions and decisions without you even realizing it. They can cause you to doubt yourself, to play small, and to avoid taking on challenges that could lead to growth. The problem with limiting beliefs is that they operate on autopilot, shaping your behavior in ways that you might not be consciously aware of. They create invisible barriers that prevent you from reaching your full potential because they keep you operating within the confines of what you've been conditioned to believe is possible. One of the most powerful steps you can take to reclaim your confidence is to challenge these limiting beliefs and break free from the patterns of the past. This requires self-awareness and the willingness to examine the stories you've been telling yourself. It's important to ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Is it really true, and is it serving me? Often when you dig deeper into your limiting beliefs, you'll realize that they're not based on objective reality, but on past experiences that no longer have to define you. By questioning these beliefs and replacing them with more empowering ones, you open yourself up to new possibilities. You start to see that just because something happened in the past doesn't mean it has to happen again, and just because you believe something about yourself before doesn't mean you have to keep believing it now. Another common way people let the past control them is by holding on to grudges, resentment, or anger toward others. If someone has wronged you in the past, whether it's a family member, a friend, or a colleague, it's easy to carry that hurt with you, allowing it to fester and impact your present relationships and interactions. You might find yourself being overly guarded, distrustful, or unwilling to forgive, all because of something that happened in the past. But when you hold on to resentment, you're not punishing the other person, you're punishing yourself. You're allowing the negative energy of the past to continue affecting you even long after the event has passed. This keeps you stuck in a cycle of negativity where you're constantly reliving the hurt and allowing it to color your perception of the present. Forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools for breaking free from the past. Forgiveness doesn't mean condoning what happened or forgetting it. It means releasing the emotional hold that the past has on you. When you forgive, you free yourself from the burden of carrying around anger, resentment, and bitterness. You make space for healing, growth, and positive energy. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about taking back your power and refusing to let the past control you. It's about choosing to move forward, unencumbered by the weight of old wounds, and allowing yourself to embrace the present with an open heart and mind. Another way the past can control you is through patterns of behavior that you've developed as coping mechanisms. For example, if you've experienced rejection or failure in the past, you might have developed a habit of self-sabotage where you undermine your own success because deep down you don't believe you deserve it. Or you might avoid taking risks because you're afraid of experiencing the same pain or disappointment you felt in the past. These patterns of behavior are often unconscious, but they can have a profound impact on your ability to move forward and achieve your goals. Self-sabotage in particular can be a sneaky form of holding yourself back, where you create obstacles for yourself either by procrastinating, not putting in your full effort, or making choices that are not in alignment with your true desires. When you recognize these patterns and understand where they come from, you can start to break free from them and create new, healthier behaviors that support your growth and success. The past can also influence your present by shaping your expectations for the future. If you've experienced a lot of disappointment, setbacks, or challenges in the past, you might start to expect more of the same in the future. This can create a self-fulfilling prophecy where your negative expectations lead to actions and decisions that reinforce those outcomes. For example, if you expect that you'll fail at a new project, you might not put in your full effort, and as a result, you end up failing just as you expected. These negative expectations are a form of mental conditioning, where your past experiences shape your future in ways that limit your potential. But the future is not predetermined, and just because something happened in the past doesn't mean it will happen again. When you shift your expectations and start to believe in the possibility of success, growth, and positive outcomes, you change the trajectory of your future. One of the most powerful ways to stop letting the past control you is to practice mindfulness and live in the present moment. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present and aware of your thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without judgment or attachment. When you're mindful, you're not dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. You're fully engaged in the here and now. This allows you to break free from the mental patterns that keep you stuck in the past, and it gives you the clarity and focus to make conscious choices that align with your goals and values. Mindfulness helps you become more aware of how the past is influencing your present, and it gives you the tools to let go of old patterns and create new, healthier ones. Another important aspect of letting go of the past is learning to embrace change. The past can create a sense of familiarity and comfort, even if it's not serving you. Sometimes we hold on to old habits, relationships, or ways of thinking because they feel safe, even if they're limiting our growth. But change is a necessary part of life, and when you resist it, you prevent yourself from evolving into the person you're meant to be. Embracing change means being willing to let go of the old and make space for the new. It means recognizing that growth often requires stepping into the unknown and trusting that you have the strength and resilience to handle whatever comes your way. The past will always be a part of your story, but it doesn't have to define your future. When you stop letting the past control you, you open yourself up to new possibilities, new experiences, and new opportunities for growth.